it's been a long time, but I do know iTunes. So we'll start learning my pieces. Let's start with something pathetic, shall we? Oh, but it's not pathetic. It is pathetic. It is passion. It is romantic almost. And I'm sure you've guessed who I am, yeah? I have my own blog entry. And here he is. Not bad looking, huh? For a 13-year-old? Yes, but you know about me. You're here for my music, I understand, yes? Yes, yes. So who am I? What am I all about? What's it? Ludwig, yes. Also Louise, when I go to France. Also Ludovicio, when I'm in Italy. And I know all these people, right? And I am born, when am I born? Any? Yes? 1770, good year in Bonn. Bon appetit, right? Wonderful city there. And unlike my older colleague Mozart, not quite as much of a child prodigy, but don't tell that to my father. He says, I see money in your eyes, young Beethoven. It does work now. There is a God in Himmel. Yeah, give him a hand. Oh, wunderbar. These modern technology, you see, I don't really understand, but here they are. I certainly do like to make a big sound, and that is one of the ways, of course, I am different from Herr Mozart, right? Delicate, but I did want to study with it. But my father, you see, thought that I was a prodigy like this older colleague, right? But not quite. But as it turned out, I wind up having to somehow support my father because he's, how do you say in your language, a drunk, right? He's, too much of the Oktoberfest thing. So by the time I am, say, 13, what a picture. The face, only a mother, but my mother died, rather young too. The old puzzle. There has been a boy born. He has died in infancy. The mother has syphilis. The father is a drunkard. Do you recommend abortion? Oh, yeah. You've just aborted me. No, so you don't want to do that, do you? Of course not. But I am growing up, and by this time, I'm starting to support the family because my father, right, he's just a no good. Remember, it's German, right? And so I am writing my first compositions, and I am bound eventually for Vienna. No more small-time stuff for me. And in Vienna, I hope to study with this elder brother, right, this Mozart. There's my homeland. There's my house. Not bad. There's the castle down the road. Not bad. There's one of my teachers, Leaf. One of my early supporters, and there I am maybe with Mozart. But it's been a long time. Yeah, my memory is a little bad on this subject. Did I actually? And look, I'm focused on the piano. I'm not sure whether Mozart is actually there or not. And indeed, I have to go home and support my family again because my father has passed away. And the newspapers in Bonn, what did they say in the report? They said, the taverns of Bonn lament today on the passing of Herr Johann Beethoven. So I stayed for a few years, but I go back, and when I go back, I am a sensation. Studying, though, very hard, and amongst those studyings, I'm studying with this gentleman. What a superb teacher of counterpoint. This is Orbrechtsburger. What a nice name, huh? It's a good name. Very good. And also Salieri. Salieri has gotten a bad rap overall in the history of music, right? Because of Herr Mozart. But I respect him, I study with him. I learn Italian opera for all that good that it does me. One opera. In general, if Mozart writes 10, I write 1. If Mozart writes 41, I write 9. It's the 9 symphonies. And you are here for the last one tonight. My creative output can somewhat be divided into 3 periods, and that first period is called, well, what do you think that first period is called? It's called my first period, that's what it's called. Yes. And in that, I sort of look Haydn as important people, but I upped the ante, this classical style, and not the style of overall classical music. You turn on the radio, KDFC in San Francisco, and they say, "This is your classical station in the Bay Area." This is the small definition of classical, meaning after Johann Sebastian Bach, who was not well known, by the way, after also my idol Handel and Haydn both going to London, become sensations. I was offered such a thing too, but can you imagine me in London? I ask you. But instead, 3 noblemen decided to keep me in Vienna on salary. Not bad work if you could get it. Not bad salary if they could pay me. 2 out of 3 forgot anyway. But the small definition of classical, you see, the style of nobility, dignity, simplicity. So you know my 9th Symphony, right? Mi, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re. Can you sing that with me? Go! Mi, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re. Ah, wunderbar, yes. Anyone can sing it, even you, maybe, right? As it goes. So it's a simple style in some ways, much less complicated than, say, do, 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 Bach, Bach, running, oh, the keyboard, much more simple, and yet the passion can happen. And indeed, many people have called me, Beethoven, somewhat of a mug bump. I've got my mug looking towards the future of the Romantic era, and I've got my wump back in classical music, you see. So, a little balance of both. And in this first artistic period, you hear that in the music, but you also hear me struggling and passionately reaching out, despite, and maybe because my world is getting smaller, because the interior, I am losing my hearing. In fact, by mid-career, I need an ear trumpet to keep the sound coming. There's no question about it. I can hardly hear. And indeed, by the time I write my 3rd Symphony, which I dedicated to Napoleon, until he became a totalitarian dictator, and then in anger, I scratched the score out from his name, and then said, "Ein heroic symphony, eroica." And I believe in freedom. And I believe in politics and art bettering the human condition. And you hear that in my middle bit. And you're hearing some of this music now. The Moonlight Sonata. There is more passion. Other pieces have more grandeur. And so there I am, roughly at the top of my game. Well, still kind of early. 1st Symphony. There I am. 33, not bad. And, there is this Gott in Himmel. You can hear the nobility of this music. Yeah? And by here, as I'm giving this high five, we talk the 5th Symphony. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. I bet you can sing that with me too. So, me. Fa-fa-fa-re. Go. So, me. Fa-fa-fa-re. Oh, leave us hanging. I don't want to get to do. Instead, it spills forth, and there's a headlong rush of passion in much of this music. And you hear it all the way to the 9th. By my middle period, the 2nd period, the heroic period, the quintessential Beethoven, most of the works that define my creativity have been written. The 5th Symphony, up until the 3rd to the 8th Symphony, the piano concertos, many of the famous sonatas. But deafness is increasing in me, possibly due to syphilis. Many considerations. I become deaf as a young man, and while there have been precedents of composers being blind, Handel comes to mind, Stevie Wonder comes to mind. How do I know that? There has been a
no precedent of a composer going deaf. I am that precedent. And yet I still hear the music. Although there are those that say, by the end, by my third period, I really don't have a clue as to how it goes. Indeed, the same gentleman who made the ear trumpets for me, Herr Meso, also does what we call MM equals 60, Meso's metronome. Tick-tock, back and forth. And in that, we give tempo. By the time I give tempo markings to all my music, I am stone deaf. And many people say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. As a matter of fact, in my late period, many of my pieces, including the late string quartets, people say, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's mad. And indeed, it is not until the 20th century and the 21st that the late string quartets are appreciated. But one of my late works, to live in, very much appreciated. And it was, look at that babe. Who is she? Oh, that's my Unato beloved. I still don't know who she is. Interesting. Oh, and one of my supporters, and that fascist Napoleon, one of the Napoleons at least. And, he's a fascist in his own way. But we are going on beyond the 10th, the 5th. And, I'm looking not as good there. Look at that. Not that old. Only 45. Ach, du lieber. Yeah. 48. Bingo. And there I am, top of my game. 9th Symphony. Commissioned in 1817, in the middle period. And indeed, a sketch dates all the way back earlier than that. A desire to set Schiller's Ode to Joy. The brotherhood and sisterhood of mankind. The age of enlightenment. How we can come together with art, music, life, and the universe. But I wait to set it. And I'm commissioned in 1817. And I work and work. But finally I get serious around the year before its premiere. 1824. There's already been a choral symphony, a precedent of piano, orchestra, and chorus. No one has ever written, though, a symphony for chorus. And I almost didn't do. In the sense that it's only in the fourth movement. Be not afraid. You will not see the choral singers until the last moment. And a little clue. And pass this on to your late-coming friends. And then, that it is customary these days, and in fact, when my music was premiered, many times people would clap between movements. But now, do not clap between movements. God in Him have forbidden it. So, they shall remain silent after the first movement, despite its wunderbar. You shall remain silent after the second movement, and the third, until the chorus comes on stage. Still, silenzio, no Italian too. Allegro, obbligato. But when the choral soloists come in, this vocal soloists, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, as in an opera, Nero 1, Fidelio, and sometimes this says not so, but this always is it. Then you may clap uproariously, and then of course, after the last movement, and that last movement, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, re, re. Mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do. What a contrast! After three of the most disparate movements you can imagine, and yet unified, the first, rather celestial, starting from nothing, da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, lots of perfect chords, descending and ascending, and then a huge sonata allegro, very fast, and then quite fast. A mad minuet trio, so fast that it's a joke. Ein Spaß, ein Scherzo. No, that's the wrong one. No. Where am I sometimes, right? Also known as the theme from the Huntley Brinkley show, right? Yes, very good. A long time ago. Only you old people would know. Right. Yes, of course. Glorious. I sneak in a fugato in it. I make it a sonata allegro. A theme, B theme, development, recapitulation. What do I think I'm doing? First movement all over again, eh? And the jumps. Bum-ba-dum, like the first movement. Ba-dum, ba-dum. Okay, different interval, but you get the idea. And third movement. Descending fourths again. Ah, there is method behind the madness. No? Yeah. And the grand theme and variations. The second movement, the comedy of life. The third movement, the romance of life. The first movement, the celestial wonder of it all. And the fourth movement, finally. Fourth movement, I don't know what I'm doing. Unprecedented. It starts with a recitative out of opera. It starts actually before that with military cries as if Napoleon has been reborn. All the things. Stravinsky would approve. I don't know that. And after that, the recitatives reciting as if the cellos and basses are trying to speak. And then a little bit of the first movement. And then the recitative interrupting it as if to say, no, that's not it. And the second movement. And interrupted by the recitative. And then the third movement. All in excerpt, you see. Just interrupted. Third movement interrupted. And finally, a new, glorious theme. And that theme you know. Childishly simple, idiotic, and yet all-encompassing. As simple as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, right, which had Mozart. Did theme and variations too. Same kind of concept. A child could play it. But that is part of the Enlightenment, going all the way back to Voltaire. The rationality of humankind and the simplicity. And so this simple tune you will hear, couched in theme and variations, four variations, and then another one of these outbursts, almost like Haydn, with whom I studied, Mozart being dead, and we got along, sometimes got along, and Haydn full of belly laughs, crazy stuff, interruptions, joy, sorrow, craziness. So I buy into that. The craziness, the humor of Haydn, and the celestial nobility of Mozart, and it's all here. And then, after that second outburst, a bass solo. The bass soloist stands up and says, oh friends, let us have more joyous music. I put that in. That's not Schiller's poem. I stuck that in as a Michael from Mary Poppins. I put that in too, just to set the stage. And another theme and variations now for bass, for the four solos, for the orchestra, for the chorus. And after that, an allusion to Turkish music. Umpa-dum, 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 umpa-umpa. A big joke. Contrabassoon. Piccolo. Eventually, bass drums, cymbals, all instruments associated with the Janissary bands of the Middle East. Possibly to say, this brotherhood and sisterhood of mankind is not only for us Western and Central Europeans, but also for our friends and enemies, even the Turks, who came to the gates of Vienna at one point, almost as bad as Napoleon. And so we are all universal. And in the sense, that game becomes another scherzo. And there's a third section, which is lyrical again, celestial, as if it's the third movement all over again. And finally, oh, yeah, you got to in there somewhere, as in the scherzo. And finally, combining the slow and the opening fast in the galloping 6/8. And I am sitting here at the desk. I have rehearsed the musicians somewhat. I had help, you see, because they all thought I couldn't hear it. They were right. And I am sitting here with the score, and I am looking at the score, and conducting from the score at the end of the piece, conducting madly, as the chorus is singing passionately and the orchestra in its wake. And as they come up to a climax, I'm still going because I'm so into the music. And finally I stop. And finally I stop, recognizing that while I can't hear it, the audience and the orchestra, the chorus, and the tears in her eyes, one of the soloists, the alto, turns me around to the crowd to accept the applause. Und I thank you very much. Gott in Himmel,